Good evening, wrestling fans. Welcome to Evolution of Pro Wrestling. I am your host, Lewis, the Encyclopedia of Pro Wrestling.
And I'm Jay, the Whiz Kid of Pro Wrestling.
Hey, what an introduction. Guys, today's topic is a very unique topic. This one pretty much, it symbolizes what wrestling is about.
Right.
When you mention guys like Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, Triple H, Mankind, Mick Foley, but there's that one name that symbolizes leadership in the locker room.
And that everyone talks about.
Yes. Today's topic is the history of the Undertaker. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, icon in this business.
Mm-hmm.
The Undertaker has done more than any other superstar that have ever seen.
I'm pretty sure
in this business.
He's probably also one of the most respected guys in the locker room.
Of course.
Too. If not the most respected
He's a leader.
guy in the locker room.
He's a leader.
Exactly.
He pretty much had a decade of destruction. This man took on many superstars that to this day people still talk about the Undertaker.
Right.
So who is the Undertaker, Jaden?
The Undertaker, the Dead Man, he went by many names, but I feel like the Dead Man was probably his most powerful name. He started off as Mean Mark Calloway.
Exactly, Mean Mark Calloway.
That was his first ever name.
He came Mean Mark Calloway, then the Punisher, the Master of Pain, and then Kane, the Undertaker first, then the Undertaker.
But if you want me to be completely honest, I feel like most of these guys now that you see with that demonic type character, that scary type character, with like all the paranormal stuff and crap like that, they probably got motivation from the Undertaker. I'm not talking about like the Undertaker's past gimmicks. I'm talking about the Dead Man, the Phenom, the Undertaker, when he strikes the ring and then the lightning appears when he comes out of a coffin or something like that.
Before we continue, the Undertaker's biggest fan has arrived, Mr. Brian Montavo.
Yeah.
So, and we also have our director and producer watching our show. Thank you, honey, for joining us. And thank you, everyone else. Ben Cliff, welcome, brother, and everybody else. Mr. Freeman. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for everyone who's here.
Yes, feel free to share our content, bring people in, get people in. Let's have an awesome discussion. The history of The Undertaker. Where he started, how he got to become The Undertaker, how it all began, how it ended, who should have broken the streak, and an interesting question that a fan brought to our attention that we should mention during the podcast. Who do you think would have benefited better from the streak besides Brock Lesnar? He says it's Brock Lesnar, but he says Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar.
So Brian says I'm tuning in and out, so bear with me, laughing out loud. Yep, of course. So, Jaden.
Yes.
How did The Undertaker begin his career in professional wrestling? When did he debut in professional wrestling?
Undertaker debuted in Survivor Series 1990, November 22nd, which was probably...
No, it was June 26th.
June 26th, sorry. That's when he made his debut. That's when he made another debut. Sorry, yes.
That was his first ever debut,
June 26, 1987. That was his first ever debut. That's where it all began.
So with The Undertaker, where it began, he joined numerous oh, wait a minute. He says it's 01:38 a.m. in the morning here. Dedicated fans here. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, man. We appreciate it. First off, he wrestled in WCC. Hey, Kevin's back. What's up, brother? Haven't seen you in a minute.
In a while. Yeah,
it's been a while.
Wow.
Yes,
Good to have you back.
as we were mentioning that he wrestled in WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling. He wrestled in USWA, WCWA, WCW, and then WWE. So, in your guys' opinion, also you too, Jay, where do you think before he hit WWE did he make a name for himself?
I mean, I feel like that's everyone, but of course, he made a name for himself when he first debuted in WCW. I feel like, that's where it all began. It started in WCW, and then, of course, you start there, and then that's when WWE became a thing, and then you had to work your way up there. So I feel like that was a great way for Undertaker to get his name out there, starting from WCW, going into WWE, because, WWE was a place where, all of the superstars were born that are in, the present, like a Triple H, a Batista, or Randy Orton, the list goes on and on. So yeah, I feel like The Undertaker did make, a slight name for himself, but I feel like The Undertaker didn't need to make much of a name already because of the way he was wrestling back then.
Well, he was part of a tag team called the Skyscrapers. Mm-hmm. He was with Sid Vicious, and they were a lethal tag team back then. You know what I mean? They even put the beatings on the Road Warriors. So it was crazy the way that he was in WCW and still didn't get stardom. That Ole Anderson, a guy in back then, old school, told him that he was never going to make money in WCW.
Right.
So how can you tell a man like that, that's 6'10", 329 pounds, that you're not going to make money?
Right.
Vince McMahon jumped on that quick. That's when he debuted in 1990, November 22nd, in the Survivor
Series. Oh, man.
So that's when he made a name for himself.
That's when,
he came in.
Yes, exactly.
And everybody looked at like Roddy Piper said, look at the ham hock on that. Timothy says, why aren't you guys at ARW? Oh no, we're safer right here. I wish I could have been there, but I'm good here. Ben Cliff says, my first memory of The Undertaker was when he fought the Giant Gonzalez. I did not watch WWF as a kid. I was an ECW fan, but I saw The Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez. That's when I started to watch the WWE. Yes, what caught my attention with The Undertaker was when he became a face. I didn't really like much of that. He was the heel. He beat Hulk Hogan in Survivor Series. Paul Bearer debuted as his manager, and it was just, it was just.
Okay, now.
I didn't like it.
Now, I got a question for you.
Okay.
What do you feel like Undertaker's character was leaning more to as the dead man? A heel or a face? See, I will tell you why I asked this, but where do you think his character was leaning towards?
I would have to say more towards the Phenom. That character, yes, I like the dead man. I like the gimmick of the American Badass, you know what I mean? And the Ministry of Darkness, but the Phenom. Like, just hear those words. The Phenom.
Okay, so I asked this question because the Phenom, he has a sinister character. He comes into the ring, with the smoky floor, comes in nice and slow. But, he's also, a really respected person, especially when it comes to in-ring work, because, he pays his respects once he's done fighting someone great. So, I feel like Undertaker can go both ways. I feel like Undertaker can be a great heel and Undertaker can be a great face. But, I feel like forever my favorite character, my favorite gimmick of Undertaker is the Phenom. Because I feel like the Phenom was the best.
So Brian says, I remember the first time I saw Taker debut. I remember where I was when I was watching the pay-per-view. The moment the bell gong sounded, I was tuned in. My eyes did not leave the TV till that match was completed. Pretty much when the Undertaker debuted, he was glued. He was glued to the Undertaker. That's what the Undertaker does. You know what I mean? Especially when he fought against guys like Dusty Rhodes and Hulk Hogan.
He fought a lot of greats.
A lot of greats. You know what I mean? And when you got that type of character in professional wrestling, that's hard to duplicate. In fact, I don't even think you can duplicate it. That's the problem. So, well, not the problem. That's a good thing that you cannot duplicate something like that of an athlete as The Undertaker.
Right.
Ben Cliff says, my fondest memory of The Taker was when he got put in a casket and the lights went out, then the camera was in the casket, and he cut a creepy promo, was scary as hell. Yes, Royal Rumble 1993, I believe. That's when he fought Yokozuna for the title, and he lost, and smoke started coming out, and I'm like, I was even shocked. I'm like, holy shit. Like, what the heck just happened? And then months later, he returned at SummerSlam as the rebirth of The Undertaker with the purple and black.
Yeah.
That character I actually liked when he came back in purple. So
now, okay.
Wait, before you continue, Jaden, fans, please feel free to share our content. Share it all over your groups, your friends, your family, your cousins, everywhere.
Every single place.
Bring them in with this amazing topic, the history of The Undertaker.
Yes.
Okay, so now there is one thing that I remember of The Undertaker when he became a face. He had a bit of a rivalry going with Ted DiBiase and the Money Incorporated. You know, he had King Kong Bundy. He had Sid Vicious, Tatanka. I forgot who. Errol Shyster. Like, it was just madness the way things were going.
He had a rivalry with a lot of people, but I feel like a rivalry that will forever be in the books is him and Randy Orton. If you want me to be honest, I feel like him and Randy Orton had a good rivalry, and I feel like my favorite time of seeing The Undertaker, which actually started making me like The Undertaker, was when I forgot who Randy Orton beat, and the Druids came out, and Undertaker was in a casket while the Druids were walking
I believe that was No Mercy.
I'm pretty sure
that he lit the casket on fire.
He lit the casket on fire,
Okay.
and then he came out. You heard the theme song, and Randy Orton was just in shock. I was like, wow, what is going on here? Like, how can you possibly come out of a burning casket or a casket that just got electrocuted by thunder?
Mm-hmm.
That was absolutely insane. So that's what made me catch attention of The Undertaker, and that's what makes Undertaker so unpredictable, because you never know where he could come from. He could come from out of the ring or in the ring for all we know. It could come from the sky. Anything is so unpredictable.
No, it was definitely interesting. Brian says, do you guys know that The Undertaker was not the first one to have a casket match? No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Tell us who did that. I don't remember.
I didn't
Kevin says, phone at 9%, charge upstairs, being lazy, laughing out loud. Taker versus Mankind cage match was awesome. Of course.
That will forever be one of the greatest matches of all time.
And Christopher Brown, welcome, brother. One of our loyal fans that always comes to watch our show. He said, and if I've got a Taker-related question for you, Lewis, which won't be an easy answer. Shoot, sir. Let me know this question. Which, in your opinion, were his best and worst matches under each of his personas throughout his entire career up to this point? Wow. Ooh. Okay. To me, worst match he's ever had, it's either between the Giant Gonzalez and The Undertaker, or Goldberg and The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah.
And his greatest matches, I would have to say, were by far the best of all time. Shawn Michaels, both WrestleManias, in my opinion.
Well, I had the exact same mindset. I was thinking...
Brian, I heard that. I heard about that. Dusty Rhodes against Ivan Koloff in a casket match. I heard about that. I wanted to see that match. I'm going to see if they have it in YouTube or something. Beckham says, my favorite Taker was Ministry Taker because it made Mideon, Viscera, and the Acolytes look strong, and Taker was a god, like a persona.
Wasn't that when he was in the Ministry of Darkness?
Yes, he was, and that was his. I like that character. That was the Attitude Era. Yep.
Yes.
Brian says worst match was against Goldberg. That match was terrible. That match was terrible.
Yeah, that was
like it was bad. The man nearly got paralyzed.
Exactly. That wasn't a good match.
But you know what made The Undertaker? What made The Undertaker was when he decided to come out of his... he says best match ever, Taker versus HBK or Triple H. Ben
Yeah,
Cliff
he
says
has
worst
some good
match was Goldberg and best match was against HBK. First match between them. Yep, exactly.
I'm pretty sure that's what everybody would
So
say.
Undertaker pretty much got famous through fighting these superstars. He fought guys like Triple H. He fought guys like Stone Cold. He fought Big Boss Man, Big Show. Who do you had mentioned that Randy Orton you think was his toughest?
One of
actually
his
was
toughest-
his best rivalries.
One of his best rivalries. Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to disagree with you with that because they went through hell.
They both did.
They went through several matches. You know, it was WrestleMania. There was Hell in a Cell. You know, there was a casket match. You know, and stuff like that. So it was an excellent rivalry, and I enjoyed it because
yes.
Randy Orton tried to make a name for himself.
And that's back when Randy Orton was the legend killer. He wasn't the Viper, he was the legend killer, and he was young. That's like you said. That's when he was making a name for himself. You know, that was when he was trying to get himself out there.
Well, we can't. According to Brian, we can. Let's not forget Taker versus Jeff Hardy
in a ladder.
No, he said Hell in a Cell
They
match.
had a Hell in a Cell match.
Yes, they had a Hell in a Cell match.
I never knew
And
that.
they had a ladder match.
I seen
These
the ladder
guys
match, but I've never
went
seen the
through
Hell in a
hell when they had that match. So
I've never
I'm
seen
like,
the Hell in a
holy
Cell.
cow! Like,
I need to check that match out then.
no, that match
I've
was
never seen the
crazy.
Hell in a Cell.
You know, and yes, he definitely had major rivalries with
He had a lot of rivalries.
Yes, no, he definitely had a lot of rivalries. You know, that's for sure. But like you said, Randy Orton was definitely trying to make a name for himself. And Undertaker, when he first came to WWE, he was also trying to make a name for himself. You know, he went after Dusty Rhodes. He actually had a feud going with The Undertaker. The Undertaker, look at me, I'm crazy. With The Ultimate Warrior. No, but he did fight The Undertaker. Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a battle. But he had a feud with The Ultimate Warrior, which many people don't know. And he literally dang it, I keep saying The Undertaker. They keep putting The Ultimate Warrior in a casket. He put him in a casket and locked him in there. And
I feel like the Undertaker is the master of that match. Like that, he's like the godfather of the casket match because like he does so many things with the casket. Like he'll put you in there and then raise his hands and then you'll see lightning appear from the sky. So like it's so unpredictable when it comes to those matches.
No,
Who was the Undertaker?
It was Brian Lee. Yep, Brian Lee. I remember who he was.
I don't know who that is.
He was part of the Disciples of Apocalypse.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, no, it was.
That must be way out of my league.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely out of your league. But yeah, it that match with the Undertaker versus Undertaker was pretty good. That's when Undertaker came back as the purple and
Wasn't
black.
they in like a Hell in a Cell or something? Like
No,
that?
no. It was a regular match.
Okay, no, I'm thinking of the wrong. Oh, I'm thinking of the wrong match. I'm thinking of the match when Undertaker went against Kane in the Hell in a Cell, and Undertaker was dressed as Kane. Okay, never mind.
No, it's so when it came to the Ultimate Warrior and the Undertaker, he locked him in the casket, and you know they were doing the CPR. Look, he says watch
match tonight. All right.
Yep. So you watch that match. It's on the network, so you can watch it.
Okay.
So yeah, these two had a body bag match. Body bag. You know what a body bag is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. It had a body bag match, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, what the hell? Is the Ultimate Warrior gonna win this? Is he going to like what's gonna happen? And Ultimate Warrior won. But for a human being to just get locked up in something like that,
See, that's what I'm saying. Undertaker probably had a lot of guts because he got buried alive, put in a casket, put in a body bag. The casket was lit on fire multiple times. I'm pretty sure it was Triple H that beat the casket and then lit it on fire. That's scary.
Well, we got a comment here from Ben Cliff. He says, "Jaden, have you seen the Undertaker hung Big Boss Man from the Hell in a Cell?"
I have seen that.
Yep, he saw that match.
He literally hung him from the Hell in a Cell. I have seen that.
Now, to me, what made the Undertaker was WrestleMania.
Which WrestleMania?
Just WrestleMania. Just WrestleMania.
Oh, so just WrestleMania.
The grandest stage of them all. WrestleMania was the show of shows that that the Undertaker was the Clash, pretty much the messiah of WrestleMania. There was nobody stopping him until we're gonna get to that.
Yeah,
until something. But he first beat Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Hall of Famer Jimmy Superfly Snuka. What did you think of that when you saw that match where he beat him like
Jimmy
that?
Superfly Snuka versus Undertaker.
He manhandled him.
Yeah, that's two greats right there. But like I feel like that was surprising because like I think back then Jimmy Superfly Snuka was probably like popular, and Undertaker didn't. I think Undertaker had a pop, but not as much as a pop as Snuka did. So for Undertaker to beat Snuka, that probably gave him a big boost to his career because he beat one of the greats. And Jimmy Snuka at his prime was probably great, especially if he did a splash. Like that's a lot of pounds going onto your body. So for Undertaker to beat him, that was absolutely great.
Of course, and Brian is true about what he said. He didn't even know he was undefeated at WrestleMania until somebody brought it to his attention, and he's like, "Let's go with it, let's do it." And that's when they started rolling with it. And that's when they came to WrestleMania 8 with Jake the Snake Roberts. Match was okay. Wasn't the best, because it was it was working with what they could with Jake the Snake Roberts. Not taking anything away from him, but it was kind of a one-sided battle, but it was pretty good. Then again, worse, Giant Gonzalez and him. Giant Gonzalez was like 7 feet tall, something like 8 feet tall, and you see this guy and small guy, and I didn't really like the match. So now, Jaden, have you ever heard of the man called King Kong Bundy?
A few times.
Okay, he fought King Kong Bundy right after. He fought King Kong Bundy at WrestleMania as well, and King Kong Bundy was known for his strength, and surprisingly, the Undertaker got him up for a tombstone. This guy was over 400 pounds.
And how tall was this guy?
He was about maybe 6'4", 6'5".
Okay.
And, this is an interesting comment. Ben Cliff says, as for the streak, I think Undertaker should have chosen who he wanted to beat the streak. I know Brock didn't want to be that guy.
I gotta agree with him on that.
Yes.
I feel like Brock isn't the type of person to end a streak like that. I get it. He's known for taking titles and everybody gets, super upset about it. But I feel like Undertaker and Brock Lesnar probably didn't want to have anything to do with it because Brock Lesnar probably like Ben said, he didn't want to be the guy to end the streak, and Undertaker probably didn't want him to end the streak. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Well, Christopher Brown says there's one old school wrestler I wish would have had a longer program with Taker in their career before they hung up their tights for good. Who's that person? Taker beat King Kong Bundy with the flying clothesline. Did he? I thought he beat him with the tombstone. I think a tombstone, or was it? Isn't
that flying clothesline when he goes on the top rope?
No. Are you sure it was a flying clothesline, or was it like a inverting choke slam? I'm not sure. It's. Ben Cliff says Bundy's character was underrated character as George the Animal Steel. They both were good guys. I'm surprised they didn't put King Kong Bundy in the Hall of Fame.
I'm still surprised about that.
What are we gonna do? Sorry, I'm biting my nails.
Undertaker beat the Big Show in any match? Yes, he had.
Of course he did. He put him in a casket.
Yes, he did. The man we lost 5 years ago today. Roddy Piper, Dad.
I wasn't too fond of that feud between Roddy Piper and Undertaker.
Why not?
Because it was just two totally different styles.
I mean, but that's what makes it interesting. Like, you can't expect to have two styles going up against each other. And back then, there wasn't... Okay.
Sorry. Brian said it was the clothesline. I watched that match the other day. Jesus
of course
Christ.
he did.
But he did the tombstone on Mark Henry. Okay, so I knew it was one heavy guy that he did it too.
Okay, question. What gimmick was The Undertaker when they had that feud going on?
With Piper?
Yes.
Oh, he was the regular Undertaker.
Like the purple gloves?
No, that was a black and gray. Black
and gray.
There was nothing else about that, So
okay, if it was Phenom or like Purple Glove Undertaker, then yes, I would agree that would have been a good feud. But if it's just regular Undertaker from the start, no, I probably wouldn't have liked it if I was born at that time.
Okay, so here's the magic question
For all of us.
for all of us.
Okay.
I'm gonna name every single superstar that the Undertaker has beaten at WrestleMania. Well, besides before the streak and whatever. But
Yes.
yeah, I'm gonna put it down here.
Okay.
Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Jake the Snake Roberts, Giant Gonzalez, King Kong Bundy, Diesel, Psycho Sid, Kane, Big Boss Man, Triple H, Ric Flair, A-Train and Big Show, Kane again, Randy Orton, Mark Henry, Batista, Edge, Shawn Michaels,
Twice.
×2, Triple H, ×2, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, Bray Wyatt, Shane McMahon, Roman Reigns, John Cena, and AJ Styles.
So it's everyone he beat.
Yes, but there's 2 people. No, that's not everyone he beat. There's only 2 people in this world that has beaten The Undertaker. Roman Reigns
Lesnar.
and Brock Lesnar.
So other than that, he's beaten everybody else then.
Yes.
Okay.
So, before we get into this question, I'm going to read this comment that Brian just said. He said his best feuds were with Mankind and Kane, in my opinion. Yes, with Mankind. I love the Boiler Room match. I love the Buried Alive match. I love the Hell in a Cell match. They were all good. Whack Lesnar.
Oh, speaking of matches, this is the time I remember when Kane lit Undertaker on fire while Undertaker was in a casket, and I'm pretty sure Paul Bearer was on Kane's side.
Hey, well,
he was standing right next to Kane while Kane was doing that.
Well, remember the Inferno match?
Yes, they also had an Inferno match.
It was that was a crazy
That
match.
was
The Inferno.
That was a crazy
like
match.
you know how that must have been like 300 degrees or something.
It
in
was,
that ring.
and it was around the ring.
Yeah,
So it was crazy.
So imagine it's like wow.
That's a little scary.
So,
I'm not gonna lie.
Ben Cliff says the best person who promo feuded with Taker was CM Punk. His promos against Taker were incredible. Punk covering himself in Paul Bearer's ashes were unbelievable. Yes.
Yeah.
That's when Paul Bearer died. In real life, he did pass away. And that was kind of personal.
That was
very personal.
Yes.
That it actually hit the family of Paul Bearer. Like they were very uncomfortable with it. It was crazy. So Christopher Brown says Taker's feud with Roman is underrated in my eyes. Granted, neither one of them was happy with the Mania match itself. I thought the build-up for that match wasn't given the credit it's due. Yep, absolutely, man. And I know my wife is watching, and she's a huge Roman Reigns fan. And she enjoyed that match with The Undertaker, kind of pretty much passing over the torch.
I feel like that should have been the match that ended Undertaker's streak.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I don't
what?
think so. No.
I do.
I'm sorry. Listen, not taking anything away from Roman Reigns.
I disagree.
Not taking anything away from Roman Reigns, but I think that he pretty much just should not have ended the streak.
Why not?
Because come on. Look at the talent that Undertaker fought in the ring. Come on, you got Edge, Randy Orton.
But they went. But Randy Orton was
Shawn
wrestling
Michaels,
at the time.
Triple
But like,
H.
it's time to give other people a turn. Edge wasn't wrestling at that time when the Undertaker got a streak broken for the second time, supposedly by Roman Reigns. That was basically for me thinking it was like a passing of the torch. He's like, okay, Roman, it's your time to do your job. It's your time to shine out here because Roman Reigns is still young, he's still at his prime. I'm gonna say still at his prime, but he still has a long way to go before he can become Hall of Fame material. So I still feel like Roman Reigns was the perfect opponent to end the streak. I'm keeping that. I feel like Roman Reigns was the perfect opponent. Roman Reigns can do it all. Roman Reigns is a powerhouse. Roman Reigns he's a high flyer, from time to time. And Roman Reigns is, like I said, a powerhouse. He's the master of the spear. At least to me, he's one of the masters of the spear.
Okay. So
I feel like he was just a perfect opponent.
Ben says CM Punk should have broken the streak. That Punk was incredible heel at the time, and he was pretty much the most hated heel at the time. And then Christopher Brown says Jaden undefeated streak should still be intact. It was Vince's call at the end of it. Brian says Taker had a lots of pull backstage. He used to fight for the other wrestlers backstage whenever things didn't go right in his way, and he was like Vince's right-hand man in a way. And Christopher Brown says if Taker was going to pass the torch to anyone, it should have been Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt.
And
Okay,
Brian says,
I
but I do feel like he should have retired undefeated at WrestleMania.
I agree.
Yes.
Now that's something I can agree on.
I care about.
That's something I can agree on.
That is what happened. That's what should have been done. That the Undertaker should have finished his legacy undefeated.
Yeah.
Point blank,
I can agree
simple.
on. I can agree on that.
But it did not happen. So, which goes back to my first question.
Oh yeah,
out of all these names I mentioned at WrestleMania that The Undertaker has fought, who do you think would have benefited more out of that streak of breaking The Undertaker's streak?
Am I allowed to speak? Am I allowed to say my opinion?
Sure.
Triple H.
Okay, give us a reason why.
I give it to Triple H because Triple H and Undertaker, besides Shawn Michaels, by far probably had one of the biggest rivalries, or if not one of the greatest matches of all time. They had the Hell in a Cell match. I think like 2 Hell in a Cell matches actually. They had, a regular schedule for one fall matches. They had a whole bunch of matches together. And, Undertaker most of the time would come out successful, and Triple H will come out successful. But I feel like Triple H was Undertaker's danger. Triple H was a threat to the Undertaker because Triple H was the cerebral assassin, the game. He was probably one of the best wrestlers back when Undertaker was wrestling at that time. So I gotta give it to Triple H all the way.
Wow.
Triple H would have been.
Okay,
Triple H is Shawn Michaels. But I go for I lean for Triple H.
Okay, so Ben Cliff says, I disagree. Everyone knows you retire on your back. Take the pin. I disagree with that. I'm sorry, Ben.
What does that mean?
Pretty much, if you're gonna retire, taking the loss, and then you go to the sunset. No, this man has. Oh man, Brian, you trying to get me in trouble, man. Brian, Yesenia, if you're watching, Brian says Roman sucks. He said, Lou, your wife is going to kick my ass. Yo, she sure is. So she treats you. So you can't say that, man. She's a huge fan. Oh, you on your own on that one, brother. So, but yes, I think that he should have just finished his legacy undefeated. He paid his dues.
That would have been a nice way to go.
He paid his dues in the ring. He did, yes, and I understand CM Punk was an excellent heel. And yes, CM Punk would have been an excellent choice to break that streak. But how would have CM Punk benefited from breaking the streak?
And CM Punk already had a pop at the time because of all the promos he was cutting.
Well, not just the promos, because of the title reign.
Exactly, he had the title reign, so it wouldn't make sense to make him end the streak because he already was cutting amazing promos. He had a title. That's all he really needed to get his pop. And he held the title for like almost over 400 and something days. So yeah, I feel like it would have been a great match, but like you said, Undertaker should have just gone completely undefeated. That would have been a good way to retire.
Well, Christopher Brown is kind of disagreeing with you with Triple H. He says he has an issue with it. He feels that Hunter has an ego, he pretty much it shouldn't happen. That Bray Wyatt would have gained more out of the streak. And Ben says Ric Flair retired from the WWE the white way. That's what one of the most iconic moments ever.
See, no, that's different. That's different.
See, but let me answer. Let me just answer this question. Okay. This comment right here. Okay, you're absolutely right. Ric Flair went out on his terms. He retired in the ring. He lost. He got the super kick. But this man, The Undertaker, went year after year after year after year beating major superstars at WrestleMania. Jake the Snake Roberts, Hall of Famer. Randy Orton, the legend killer. The man is still an excellent superstar. Future Hall of Famer. Shawn Michaels, one of the best of all time. Man, 2 years in a row, wrestling match of the year.
And you can't there's no two WrestleManias in 1 year. There's only one WrestleMania that happens every year. So he's winning a WrestleMania every single year. Every single year.
That's why we say that WrestleMania streak should have been intact. But to me, if we're going to talk about who would have benefited most out of this WrestleMania streak, ending this streak, I would have to say Edge.
What? Yeah. Edge?
Yep.
Edge?
Yep.
Are you okay, Dad?
I'm definitely
Edge.
okay. Yep.
Okay, I need to hear this. Explain.
Okay.
Edge.
Okay.
Now, look, hold on. I'm not sleeping on Edge, so no one needs to get upset or anything, because I totally love Edge. He's one of my favorite WWE superstars. But I need to hear this. I need to see why.
Okay. So, Edge was the World Heavyweight Champion.
Okay.
Undertaker's streak was in jeopardy.
Okay.
But you had the World Heavyweight title intact.
Right.
See, Brian laughs at it too. Brian laughs at it
exactly,
too.
Edge.
He's like, bruh. He's like, bruh.
Exactly.
He's like, bruh, I'm gonna explain to this now. Edge was called the ultimate opportunist. Beating the Undertaker at WrestleMania would have symbolized his career heading forward as the major now opportunist in professional wrestling now that he beat the streak.
Okay, but so you know how Edge got injured and stuff like that and had to retire. So say for example Edge was to come back at the time when the streak was going on. Wouldn't you think Edge would have already had a pop since he would have made a return? Edge would have had probably billions of fans, billions of people cheering his name. Probably that whole arena cheering, Edge, the rated R superstar. So for Edge to end the streak, it wouldn't do nothing for his career because he was already popular. He already had the pop going. So I feel like it wouldn't have did anything. That's what I just feel. I feel like it wouldn't have did nothing. If you want me to be completely honest, I feel like Edge, and don't get me wrong, it would have been a good match between them because I've seen the matches that Undertaker and Edge had. But I still feel like if Edge was to come back at that time, or if Edge was to stay wrestling from the time he started to the Undertaker streak, he still would have had a big pop because Edge is one of those type of wrestlers that they'll be like, okay, we got to make sure this guy's character is good, stuff like that. So I feel like
so Ben says it's a pretty good choice.
I don't agree. I'm sorry, I don't agree.
Well,
I'm gonna keep my pick with Triple H.
Okay, you pick Triple H.
So okay, don't get me wrong. I feel like Edge and Undertaker would be a good match. I'll still prefer Triple H though to end this streak. I'll still prefer Edge and Undertaker. Triple H and Undertaker.
Okay. He says, anybody who ever faced the Undertaker had a pop, even the lesser known guys. Yes, you're absolutely
Undertaker
right.
was that type of person.
You're absolutely right. So, tell us, guys, who do you think would have benefited more of ending the streak at WrestleMania? Yes, you're right. Facing Taker at WrestleMania makes a wrestler. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's what made WrestleMania, The Undertaker. They look at that. They look at that calendar right there, Undertaker. Boom, I'm fighting The Undertaker. Boom, I'm gonna be famous. But Edge would have handicapped. Well, I don't know, but yes, guys, tell us your pick as to who you think should have broke the WrestleMania streak before we end the show. And while you guys are thinking about that, we just want to give you guys a little news that next week is Evolution of Pro Wrestling Trivia 4. The fourth episode of WrestleMania questions, Royal Rumbles, many other questions. Just when you think you have the answers, we change the questions. Okay, Brian says, Well, Ben Cliff says Punk, Bray, or AJ would have been my 3 choices. Okay, excellent picks. Then Brian says, I'm sorry, I think WrestleMania, that's something that shouldn't be touched. No one had that streak ever. He should have stayed undefeated. Okay, that's his pick right there. That's it. So, Jaden.
Yes.
Our time is up. As we mentioned, fans, next week, Evolution of Pro Wrestling Trivia 4. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be amazing. Amazing. And Chris Fetz, are Rico and Jose going to show up this time? I don't know. We're going to find that out. I'm going to mention them to next week. And as always, fans, please follow us at Evolution of Pro Wrestling on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as TikTok. Share our content. Bring people in. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thank you for the support and always watching us. Tune in next week. Also, look forward to this Sunday for the poll for the Watch Party match. Thank you, fans, for tuning in. For myself, Lewis, the Encyclopedia of Professional Wrestling.
And Jay, the Whiz Kid of Pro Wrestling.
Here! And it's over. Have a good night, fans.